Okay, get me one.
I will. I've got to get you. You've got to get them. The darker, the better. I usually come with my daughter, and she sits on my shoulders.
Oh, and she goes right up there to get them.
Yeah.
Oh,
No. Let me get a darker one.
That looks good to me.
Yeah. Wait, honestly.
Okay, fine.
Absolutely dark as dark can be.
You know that in Germany, apparently, they think these are quite evil.
Do they?
Yes, and they say that with the roots of a mulberry tree, the devil darkens his boots.
That's the one.
Okay.
That's the one.
The first mulberry.
First mulberry.
Gosh, it is, and they're
And
very plump. They're little, yes. Mm. God, they're luscious.
Yeah, aren't they?
They're quite winey.
Yeah, they're quite winey, quite a bit sherbety maybe as well.
You
There's
might
something-
feel like you could get drunk on these,
Yeah,
actually, because they
exactly.
are quite sort of intoxicating
They
or
are.
something. It feels like it's full of cordial
Yeah.
already, because the juice is so abundant.
Yeah.
They're much, much more juicy than any other berry I've ever tasted, I'd
Mm.
say. Fantastic balance of sweet and sour, which is very, very hard to get, and it's really good for jam, of course.
Yeah. And it will not get it out of any clothes. So dressed like Prince, all in purple.
We're doing quite well,
We're doing
actually.
all right, aren't we?
That's not bad. I love that sound.
So we put the mulberries in there, a mixture of really ripe, really very ripe ones, and some approaching ripeness, which is quite good for a jam of any kind. As much as I love mulberry jam, I especially love mulberry Bakewell tart.
When you started doing preserves, did you feel it was a kind of like a female area that you shouldn't be getting into?
Do you know what? I didn't feel that, although there'd be plenty of reasons to, because it was kind of like that, 15 years ago or so. In terms of perception, I mean, if you make jam and you're a man, you're clearly awful in bed. That's what it says, doesn't it? It's what it says to the He-Man. Maybe they're afraid of sending out that message. So, making the
A layer of
French
Mark's
panko
just
is
made
butter.
mulberry jam goes into the tart case, followed by a layer of frangipane, and then it's baked.
I'm a bit unlucky when it comes to Bakewells. I made this mulberry Bakewell tart for the last book, and I made it 3 times. And the third time, made with the last mulberries that I could pick, last mulberries of the season, and it was perfect. It came out and it just looked wonderful. And I put my fingers underneath the tart with an oven glove on.
Oh.
And the rim obviously did what it does, fell off.
And it felt hot onto your arm
Onto
as
my
well.
forearm, and I'm walking like you remember Kwai Chang Caine in Kung Fu, where he's got that big cauldron burning tattoos onto the inside of his forearm. I tried to put it onto the table, and the Bakewell tart slid off onto the floor. I am almost ashamed to admit I rescued half of it.
And ate it.
And I did, you know what? The thing with the Bakewell tart is when it's cooked and fresh out of the oven, you can kind of push it back into a Bakewell tartish shape.
So it looked right, but not good enough for a photograph.
Not good enough for a photograph, but the dog got the rest. So I'm hoping we're slightly better lucky today.
Let's not drop it, Mark.
Not going to drop it.
That looks lovely. What is especially lovely is that your mulberries actually kept their shape. That's divine.
They really are good, aren't they? They really are. They're a fruit apart, I think.
Yeah, excellent.
Really are. I'm glad I've added you to the club.
Come out and say you love me.
Okay, so Camilla's brought us some jams to try. So you've asked me to get glasses, boiling water, a lemon.
And this.
What's in here?
Well, it's a kind of preserve. It's made from chilies and lemon and lemon verbena.
So you've just put a spoonful or 2 in each glass.
And now
And
you're
lemon.
adding hot water to it.
And it's a kind of tea.
This is really quite amazing.
It does keep the. It does.
Wow! That is hot.
It is so good for you.
And this is an idea you grew up with, though, because you had the jam in the hot water or the tea.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, that's exactly what my mum did. Every time I'm ill, I just have this urge to have this runny raspberry jam in my tea.
So your approach in Scandinavia is different again when you're making jams?
We also actually eat fried fish with jam.
Oh, with lingonberry jam.
Yeah, with lingonberry jam or blackberry jam or gooseberry.
I've only had the lingon. I find it hard to approach herring, I think, with blackberry jam, but I'll take your word for it.
The lingon is special because it's so bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not very sweet. Instead of making a jam, actually just preserve them whole in sugar. Just put them in a pot and you put just as much sugar in there and you just let it sit for a while and the sugar melts and it will seep into the berries.
Oh, that's like, I've made that. That's what do you call that? What's the name for that?
Röd lingon.
I wasn't going to say that.
Come on.
But when I've travelled around Scandinavia, especially when I was staying in Sweden, actually, I would have fruit for breakfast, jam for breakfast, and I'd say, "How have you made this?" Because it was incredibly fresh and incredibly intensely fruity. And they'd sort of laugh at me because they'd say they hadn't even bothered to weigh things. They had just put the fruit in the pan and added the sugar and cooked it up and then cooked it till it got to a thickness that they actually thought was quite nice.
Yeah.
And either then they kept it in the fridge or they put it in their freezer.
A lot of people are really eager to learn about these things.
I think we're